In late July 2025, Hanoi signed a landmark agreement with Seoul to acquire 20 K9 Thunder 155mm self-propelled howitzers, valued at roughly $250 million. The deal marks Vietnam's first major artillery procurement from South Korea and positions the K9 as the most modern tube artillery system in Southeast Asia. With this purchase, Vietnam joins a roster of K9 operators stretching from Europe to the Indo-Pacific, including Australia, India, Norway, Poland, Finland, Estonia, Turkey, and Egypt. The question naturally arises, should the Philippines follow suit? Would the K9 Thunder offer Manila a transformative capability, or would it become a costly, logistically unwieldy asset in an archipelago with very different operational realities? This is not simply an equipment choice. It is a matter of strategic doctrine, fiscal priority, and alliance politics. The K9 Thunder's reputation is well-earned. Developed by Hanwha Aerospace, the system combines long-range precision firepower with modern survivability and mobility features. It fires standard 155mm rounds to 40 kilometers and extended-range projectiles to nearly 60 kilometers. Its fully automated loading system delivers 6 to 8 rounds per minute in sustained fire, and its shoot and scoot capability allows the crew to fire and reposition within minutes, critical for surviving counter-battery strikes in high-intensity conflict. It is no coincidence that the K9 has captured more than half of the global self-propelled howitzer market. Countries as varied as Poland and Australia, with radically different terrains and threat environments, have chosen it for its combination of firepower, reliability, and upgrade potential. Vietnam's purchase, however, carries additional symbolic weight. It marks the replacement of Soviet-era towed artillery with a NATO-standard system, and in doing so signals a subtle but undeniable tilt in its defense-industrial alignment. For the armed forces of the Philippines, the K9 would represent a significant leap in conventional land warfare capability. At present, the Philippine Army operates primarily towed artillery and a limited number of wheeled self-propelled guns, such as the Israeli-made Atmos 2000. These systems are lighter, more deployable across islands, and simpler to maintain, but they lack the sustained firepower, armor protection, and counter-battery survivability that the K9 provides. The Philippines' defense posture is primarily oriented toward territorial defense in a maritime setting. The most acute threat perceptions come from the West Philippine Sea, where the AFP's challenge is less about sustained land campaigns and more about protecting littoral zones, securing forward island detachments, and deterring incursions. In that sense, the K9 could serve as a potent coastal defense tool, capable of engaging amphibious landing forces or offshore targets within range. The K9's range allows it to deliver precision fire from secure rear areas onto high-value targets, be they landing craft, logistical hubs, or staging areas on disputed islands. In an archipelagic defense strategy, this standoff capability can complicate an adversary's landing plans. Unlike towed guns, the K9's armored chassis protects its crew from small arms fire, shell fragments, and NBC threats. Its ability to rapidly relocate after firing makes it far less vulnerable to counter-battery fire, a critical advantage in any high-intensity exchange. Operating the same artillery system as Australia and now Vietnam could enhance interoperability in joint exercises, logistics sharing, and coordinated fires in a regional coalition scenario. It would also signal Manila's deepening defense ties with key regional players outside the United States. Vietnam's deal reportedly includes technology transfer, officer training, and maintenance support. If the Philippines were to negotiate similar terms, it could bolster the country's nascent defense industry, create local jobs, and reduce long-term dependence on foreign contractors. But the disadvantages cannot be ignored. The K9 is a heavy tracked vehicle, weighing over 45 tons. Moving it between islands requires landing ships or heavy-lift aircraft, assets the AFP has in short supply. In a dispersed maritime theater, the speed and ease of deploying lighter-wheeled systems may outweigh the raw firepower of tracked artillery. Tracked vehicles require more intensive upkeep, specialized parts, and dedicated transport. The Philippines' maintenance infrastructure is already stretched, and adding a fleet of heavy SPHs could strain budgets and personnel. Every peso spent on heavy artillery is a peso not spent on other urgent needs: air defense, anti-ship missiles, surveillance systems, or naval modernization. Given the maritime nature of the Philippines' defense priorities, an overinvestment in land-centric systems could create imbalances. While the K9 is highly mobile in open terrain, much of the Philippines is composed of mountainous, forested, or urban environments ill-suited for large tracked guns. Their utility may be greatest only in Luzon, Palawan, or Mindanao, and far less so in smaller, strategically contested islands. Vietnam's decision to buy the K9 fits its strategic geography: a long land border with China, large contiguous territory, and an operational doctrine that emphasizes mobile firepower along its northern frontier. For Australia, the K9 offers long-range fires for both homeland defense and expeditionary contingencies, supported by vast open training areas and a mature logistics network. The Philippines' geography and force posture are different. Its core security challenge is maritime, not continental. It fights not on one connected landmass, but across hundreds of islands, each requiring its own supply chain, defense plan, and garrison. In this sense, the regional precedent is instructive but not prescriptive. The K9 may be the right tool for Vietnam, but tools must match the job. Rather than a wholesale adoption, Manila could consider a mixed artillery fleet. Wheeled SPHs like Atmos or the French Caesar would continue to serve as the AFP's primary mobile fire support, capable of quick island-to-island deployment. A smaller number of K9 units could be stationed in fixed, high-priority areas, Palawan, for instance, where their heavy firepower could anchor a coastal defense network alongside anti-ship missiles like BrahMos. This hybrid model would preserve logistical flexibility while introducing the K9's advantages where they matter most. It would also reduce the initial acquisition and sustainment costs, freeing resources for other modernization priorities. Purchasing the K9 would also be a political signal. It would deepen ties with South Korea, already a major defense partner, supplying frigates and fighters. It would position the Philippines alongside other K9 operators in a kind of informal club of countries with high-end artillery capabilities. And it would show that Manila is willing to diversify its suppliers beyond the United States, reflecting a broader trend in regional defense procurement. However, such a move would also require political discipline in budgeting, clear articulation of doctrine, and the establishment of a maintenance and training pipeline before the first unit arrives. Without these, the K9 risks becoming a prestige asset with limited operational value. The K9 Thunder is a proven, formidable artillery system. For Vietnam, it is a logical modernization step. For the Philippines, the calculus is more complex. The benefits in range, survivability, and interoperability are real, but so are the logistical challenges, terrain limitations, and opportunity costs. A selective, strategically placed acquisition, rather than a full-scale adoption, might offer the best balance between capability and practicality. Ultimately, the decision should flow not from the allure of joining regional trends, but from a sober assessment of the AFP's mission set, budget, and long-term modernization roadmap. In military procurement, as in strategy, what matters is not owning the sharpest sword, but wielding the right weapon for the battlefield at hand. Support our channel, subscribe and follow to receive the latest military news from the Philippines and the region. Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay ahead.